Ethics defines what right or wrong behavior is. However, they do not define what is legal or illegal. This makes ethics a very difficult subject to understand, and something that is usually ignored by many. There are guidelines for ethics in business, psychology, scientific studies, and more. There are also things such as meta-ethics, normative ethics, and applied ethics, which study the social impact of ethics. Business ethics determine what is right and wrong within a business place. How do they apply to business practice? And which ones are less well known? We did some homework and came up with this video. We hope you enjoy it. These are unusual business ethics that will amaze you. But before we get into the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. What is ethics? Ethics, or moral philosophy, is a branch of philosophy that involves systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. The fields of ethics and aesthetics concern matters of value, and together comprise the branch of philosophy called axiology. Ethics seeks to resolve questions of human morality by defining concepts such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtue and vice, justice and crime. As a field of intellectual inquiry, moral philosophy also is related to the field of moral psychology, descriptive ethics, and value theory. Three major areas of study within ethics recognized today are metaethics, concerning the theoretical meaning and reference of moral propositions, and how their truth values, if any, can be determined. Normative ethics, concerning the practical means of determining a moral course of action. Applied ethics, concerning what a person is obligated or permitted to do in a specific situation or a particular domain of action. What is business ethics then? Business ethics concern ethical dilemmas or controversial issues faced by a company. Often, business ethics involve a system of practices and procedures that help build trust with the consumer. Some ethics are embedded in the law, such as minimum wage, insider trading restrictions, and environmental regulations. On the other hand, internal business ethics can be influenced by management behavior with wide-ranging effects across the company. Thus, internal business ethics are often not regarded unless a law is in place to enforce their use. What would constitute an ethical issue in a business? Ethical issues in business affect a variety of aspects related to a business's general operating standards. The topic of ethical problems in business is focused on what actions a business takes and/or what policies a business creates in its efforts to resolve ethical questions that come up. Establishing a code of ethics for your business to operate by will help you lay a firm foundation of basic trust between you and your employees, clients, partners, suppliers, and so on. Fortunately, the law often gives the answers to questions related to ethical issues in business, but that's not always the case. That's why every business owner should familiarize themselves with what ethical problems in business are, why they matter, and how they should be addressed. Unusual business ethics. Here follows a list of business ethics. None of them are strange to the man on the street, but seen from a pure profit-making standpoint, they may come across as strange. Honesty. You need to be honest in all of your actions and every communication you make. When people see you making honest decisions, they start to trust your company because you're not only being truthful, but you're also being upfront and candid. People appreciate the fact that they can take you at your word, as customers prefer to do business with those they trust. Being an ethical executive means you do not deceive others by misinterpreting facts, overstating, and only giving partial truths. If you've inadvertently given the wrong impression, provide the relevant information to your customers and correct their misunderstanding as soon as possible. This business ethic is one of the strangest to companies. There are few companies, if any, who do not deceive others. An example is the legal case of Vroeg vs. Eastman Kodak Company. Eastman Kodak was sued for false advertising, unfair business practices, breach of contract, fraud, deceit, and/or misrepresentation. No official decision has been made yet on this case. A better known example is the company GlaxoSmithKline, who hold the dubious distinction of being forced to pay the largest healthcare fraud settlement in U.S. history. The criminal fine was $956,814,400, with a forfeiture of $43,185,600. $2 billion was paid to resolve civil liabilities under the False Claims Act. The lawsuit was for false claims regarding their drugs, Praxil, Wellbutrin, and Avandia. Integrity. Being ethical in business means maintaining a high level of personal integrity. This is how you earn the trust of others, whether they are your customers, team, or your superiors. In this definition, integrity means having a consistent character that is demonstrated by an alignment of your thoughts, words, and actions. Sometimes it requires you to have moral courage to do the right thing, and it takes inner strength to live up to mistakes and admit when a fault has been made. Despite a great pressure to do otherwise, ethical business managers live by a moral code they believe in, principles to maintain, and they fight for their beliefs, without sacrificing their honor for the sake of just getting a job done. Just like with honesty, the idea of integrity seems to be low on the list for many large corporations. There are many people in business who believe that as long as they stick to the law, what they do is acceptable. Anything other than that would be unusual. Keeping your promises. Your word is one of the most important tools in your arsenal as a business manager. Keep every promise that you make and always fulfill a commitment. The trust you build as an ethical executive means people enjoy doing business with you, as you take every reasonable effort to fulfill not only the letter, but the spirit of the promises and commitments you've made. Don't twist your words to get out of contracts or justify why it's okay to not comply with a commitment. Just do what you said you were going to do. Keeping promises is unusual, and therefore, we have contracts to protect us against misunderstandings, but especially against people who lie and have no integrity. Who remembers George Bush's famous line, "Read my lips, no new taxes," just to break his promise and institute new taxes? Bush was not a company, but everybody heard those words, and it still never happened. Keeping promises is unusual to people of power like him who justify what they do with other excuses. Loyalty. Don't even get me started on this one. You need to be loyal to both your company, your team, and yourself while operating within a strong moral compass. If you demonstrate your loyalty, it builds trust and shows that you place a high value on advancing the interests of both the company and your colleagues. You should not ever place loyalty above your other principles or use it as an excuse for unethical behavior. Demonstrate your loyalty, but always make an independent judgment and never use information that you've gained in confidence for your own personal achievement. Steer clear of conflicts of interest, and if you ever decide to leave your company, do it on the best of terms. Give reasonable notice. Expect any information that was gained from your former employer, and never engage in activities that take advantage of a previous position that was held. Most companies expect loyalty from their employees, but do not hesitate to show no loyalty in return. When it comes to cost cutting, most companies will simply cut loyal members of their workforce without much hesitation. When you do a simple search about loyalty in companies, most search results are about loyalty from the employee to the company and not the other way around. Many times, they will talk about the greater good, but top management are usually unwilling to forfeit bonuses, while retrenched employees have to make do with what they have left. It is unusual to expect companies to be loyal toward their employees, but in terms of pure ethical conduct, it should be common. Fairness. In all of your actions, you must strive to be fair and just. An ethical executive is committed to fairness in all that they do, and do not seek to exercise their power for an unfair advantage or use indecent methods to gain a competitive edge. They also never take undue advantage of another person's difficulties and mistakes. Being an ethical executive means that you are committed to being fair, employ justice in your decisions, and treat all people equally, with tolerance and acceptance of diversity. Being fair also means being open-minded, admitting when they have made a mistake, and adjusting their beliefs and positions when it's appropriate. The ethics of fairness is unusual when it comes to its application, and one of the most broken ethical practices. Look at the disparity in salaries between men and women, just for a start. Caring. This involves having a genuine concern for others, as well as a sense of compassion. An ethical business manager is caring, benevolent, and kind to both customers and staff, and seeks to reach their goals while causing the least amount of harm and the greatest amount of good. Being caring means understanding that there will be an impact on every stakeholder following a decision, and they always consider the financial, emotional, and long-term business consequences of an action. They do not simply discount the needs of others. How many of you know businesses that actually care? It is unusual to find a business that truly cares, especially when they have the monopoly, which, by the way, way, is also illegal. It is unusual to find a business that implements these practices of ethics. It is all about greed, as the fictional character Gordon Gekko from Oliver Stone's Wall Street says. Greed, for the lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works. Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. With the magnitude of greedy and unethical practices coming from the actual Wall Street, both in perpetuating and taking advantage of the 2008 financial crisis, the use of ethics in business is currently unusual. What is your take on the subject? Do you think it will ever change? I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you back for the next one. Until then, take care.